You scared coward. You're not man enough to f with me. You can't last 2 minutes in my world, bitch. Look at you scared now, you hoe. Scared like a little white scared of the real man. I'll f you till you love me, faggot.
In order to get his anger management under good control, he has to compromise himself as a boxer. In order to be the best prize fighter he can, he has to stop his medications. So no matter what happens, I think he has a difficult road to hoe.
The youngest of Lorna Tyson's 3 children, Mike, came into the world on June 30th, 1966 in Brooklyn, New York.
Things started going wrong for Mike when he was born in the blood hole belly of Brownsville and didn't know his father.
His dad left when his mother was pregnant with Mike, and his mother was just kind of outmatched, I think, by the world. She believed in God, and Michael saw a world where there couldn't be a God.
With no one to supervise him, Tyson began striking back when other kids his age were watching cartoons.
His M.O. was to stand outside of a supermarket to fool the old ladies that I was a nice kid and I would carry their food back to the projects.
May I please help you with your packages to go? And he'd help them, and then he'd freaking knock their teeth out, 60-year-old women, when the elevator door closed.
He and another little kid steal some pigeons from a guy, and they catch Tyson and the other kid, and they're up on a roof of a tenement, and they tie a rope around the kid's neck and throw him over the edge to kill him.
Mike had dropped out of school in the 4th grade to start running with his gang, the Jolly Stompers.
They'd beat people up, and then they'd rub their fingers in the snow to get their rings off them. It was pretty strong stuff.
He lived on the streets. He went into Spofford House, a juvenile detention facility, when he's 11. He goes into reformatory when he's 12 on an 18-month sentence.
God knows what went on in those places. Heaven help us. But then he ended up in Tryon, the boys' place upstate, and there he was discovered by a guy named Stewart, a guard. I think the first time he saw Mike, he was chained to a radiator.
Probably one of the most insecure kids I ever saw at that age. Scared to death of everything.
In an effort to instill discipline and confidence in Tyson, Bobby Stewart, a counselor at Tryon and a former fighter, began to spar with him daily.
He hit me the hardest straight left hand that I've ever been hit with. I went straight home to my wife after with a broken nose and saying, I can't fool this kid no more.
Stewart calls Custiamato and says, "Hey, I got somebody here you're not going to believe."
He said, I have this young kid named Mike Tyson who wants to box, and I'd like to bring him down for you and Teddy to take a look at.
If anyone could handle Tyson, it was Constantine Customato. He had already turned 2 street-hardened talents into world champions, Floyd Patterson and Jose Torres. But for all his legendary teaching skills, D'Amato was living in boxing exile.
Brought up in the tough part of Manhattan. He fought a one-man battle against the mob, not fighting the fighters they wanted him to fight. But he was a strange, strange man.
There was only one Customato. I mean, he was, in my opinion, he was the smartest man that boxing ever produced.
I think a light bulb went off. Cuss says, I have found my Sonny Liston. I'm going to do everything to coddle him, to protect him, to develop him, because he is my revenge on the world.
Mike was going to be Cuss's legacy, Cuss's epitaph, Cuss's vindication after all the years that he had been out in the Siberia of boxing, out of boxing basically.
He had that innate Dempsey-like aggression. He wanted to maim you with every punch. The speed was breathtaking, and you could see that this kid could become another Dempsey, another Marciano, physically, that it was all there as a teenager.
That style with the hands here and the bobbing and weaving was really old school, but it worked for Mike Tyson because that created enormous leverage, which gave him the additional power that made him into the ultimate killing machine.
On his 14th birthday, Tyson was paroled and placed in the custody of D'Amato, who owned a gym in rural Catskill, New York. D'Amato's reclamation project began immediately.
Cus was like a father to Mike. He had to build up his character and his confidence to motivate Mike and to show Mike that he could become somebody.
This old white philosopher would come up into his room middle of the night, and it was almost like a dream that would come to Tyson to hear this old man whispering in his ear, "Remember what I told you today, remember what I showed you," and just driving these lessons home. I mean, they would sit at night and watch these old black and white films of the old great boxers, and they became Mike's gods as a teenager.
Everything that Cus D'Amato did was about Mike, and was about making Mike the youngest heavyweight champion ever. That was Cus's holy grail.
Tyson and Cus D'Amato, the kid and the old guy, it was like a Hollywood movie. And we were all prepared to buy into the fairy tale. I don't think any of us saw how damaged he was emotionally and psychologically.